Hey guys, Ted McGrath. All right, let's jump in. I am jimmying a show here together for you. I just moved out to Florida for several months, so I wanted to dive in and talk about MSTR dumping today, what's happening. I'll get a little bit into that. We're going to zoom out and talk about the bigger picture of what's happening in the macro environment of what's going on with Bitcoin as the indicator of things. And then also we're going to talk about certain things going on with Bitcoin treasury companies. Trump media is moving up and up the ranks as they buy Bitcoin and go into the leaderboard with being a Bitcoin treasury company. So let's jump right in without further ado. Hopefully you can hear me. And this is not financial advice, not tax advice, not legal advice. So we're going to hear from Michael Saylor real quick. When times get rough, you jump in and we listen to Saylor and see what he has to say.
Represents digital. Bitcoin represents the greatest digital transformation of the 21st century. It represents digital capital. The global wealth is distributed across assets that provide utility and others that preserve capital. But risk is destroying trillions of dollars of that capital every single year, and investors are turning to digital capital in the form of Bitcoin in order to avoid that risk. Digital capital is economically and technically superior to physical capital, and it represents a revolutionary advance in capital preservation. The asset class itself is growing from trillions to hundreds of trillions of dollars, and it is backed by digital power along with political and economic power. Bitcoin's the best asset you can own. The numbers speak for themselves. It makes a lot more sense to buy Bitcoin than to buy your own stock back or to hold Bitcoin rather than holding bonds. If you're going to outperform, you're going to need Bitcoin. Luckily, you have an alternative. Public support for Bitcoin is surging, as is support for the U.S. Bitcoin Strategic Reserve.
Sell them into Bitcoin. That way, we wouldn't have to use any new dollars.
As is Wall Street support.
I believe Bitcoin is legitimate.
And the President of the United States says,
never sell your Bitcoin, right?
That's why we're entering year one of the crypto renaissance. And you have a choice to make. Cling to the past or embrace the future. Divest billions of dollars and slow your growth rate. Invest billions of dollars and accelerate your growth rate.
All right, hearing from Michael Saylor there. Okay, guys, I jimmied a show together for you. I just got here to Florida and no lights, no mics, no nothing, but we're going to jump in because I figured it would be good to talk about what's happening. Ultimately, we saw a big dump today, but you know what? This is how strategy moves. Strategy is a volatile asset. That's why we love strategy. Let's zoom out and take a look at the bigger picture right now, what strategy is really doing and what they've been doing at the beginning of this week or over this past weekend. The bearish title was just to address the fact that people are probably noticing a dump, and I'm here to talk about it. There's the title, okay? To get you guys on so we can just chat through it and get reinforcements here and look at the bigger picture as well, okay? And of course, you start to see a dump, and if you haven't been following this stock for a while, I've been following this stock for 5.5 years now. And so if you haven't seen strategy move up and down, particularly see the big moves up and down and the 50% moves in 2024, you don't really know what's going on. So chapter one, let's talk about strategy, 607,770 Bitcoin. Let's not forget it still is the leader and it is winning and it is big. 740 million buy locked in this past week. So let's give props to Saylor for continuing to persevere. And of course, the new product that came out called Stretch that everybody's excited about. Some people are like, what is this Stretch thing? We'll talk about that in just a minute. So look at their holdings. Average cost of Bitcoin, $71,756 per Bitcoin, a 20.8% Bitcoin yield. Basically, as shareholders, we're looking for more Bitcoin per share. That is what we are interested in. And strategy continues to deliver on that. And if you look at this stock surge over the last 5 years, let's not forget, even though we're going through a dump today, and we saw us go to 455 down to 416, strategy has been up over 3,500% in 5 years. Okay. And 455 is not an all-time here. This is a typo. This is an all-time high in 2025. But in 2024, let's not forget, after hours, the stock hit $543. Okay, so there we are. All right. So 21.5% jump last month. Now, of course, this isn't taking into account the dump that we just had, but strategy has been on the move recently. Market cap, $118 billion. Of course, with the drop today, the market cap drops a little bit, but strategy is clearly a behemoth and kicking ass. The NASDAQ 100 inclusion, we know took place a little while back, but we're looking forward to the S&P 500 inclusion that could happen in September. If that does, that's billions of dollars of passive buys coming into the game. I love Moonwalker here. He's freaking going ballistic on it because he's certain of MSTR, and I love your certainty. It's amazing. So we saw these drops here, 450 to 423 the other day, down to 416 temporarily today. And we're seeing the drop in terms of just, MSTR goes up and it goes down. Temporary dip, it's not weakness. As terms of the top 100 U.S. companies, their spot secured. S&P 500 inclusion is on the horizon. Whether it happens in September or happens after that, it's going to happen. But they already qualified. Now they need to be accepted and voted on. If you look at the trading volume, I don't know if anybody trades strategy. I trade them on a day-to-day. So massive trading volume, ranked number 11 in U.S. trading volume. So that's how much the stock gets traded, $8 billion on Friday of trading volume. And why it matters is they compete alongside trillion-dollar giants. There's high liquidity equals investor confidence, and crypto is clearly entering Wall Street's zone. Ohio Pension Fund, if you haven't heard this news before, they joined the game. They disclosed that they have 43 million in MSTR. This is not necessarily new news because I've known about this for a little while, but it's interesting as well. And if you look at the big picture, pension funds are testing the Bitcoin waters. And, we have more and more people allocating dollars to Bitcoin, which is good for strategy. Now, if you look at the Bitcoin frenzy last week, treasury firms, we know that corporations are adopting Bitcoin on their treasury balance sheet. And so what's happening is last week, there was about 7.7 thousand Bitcoin purchased last week. So when you look at the daily issuance of Bitcoin, there's 450 Bitcoin issued every single day. So over the course of a week, that's about 3,000 Bitcoin issued. And treasuries alone are buying up more than double the actual Bitcoin that's being issued. And that's just treasuries. Wow, right? That's just treasuries. Weekly mined Bitcoins at $3,100. So when you look at treasuries plus the ETFs, that's 27,000 Bitcoin. The demand is way, 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 way greater than the supply, which creates somewhat of a pressure cooker. And this is good for Bitcoin as well as good for strategy. So ETFs absorbed 20,000 Bitcoin led by BlackRock, $2.4 billion snapped up by BlackRock last week. BlackRock continues to be the leader and buys and buys and buys, just like strategy buys as well. So BlackRock leads the way, ETFs are kicking butt, and there's rising institutional demand. So Jack Dorsey, if you didn't look at this, Square, now known as Block, they bought Bitcoin and put it on their balance sheet a while ago. They now hold 8,500 Bitcoin, adding 15% of Bitcoin profits quarterly. So there you have that. Early Bitcoin adopter after MSTR was Square, and they got in the game years ago. So there you have it, which is exciting. Why somebody posted this the other day. One of the guys on James from Invest Answers posted this. One of the guys from Bitcoin Bros posted this, and they basically posted a chart that said if you had bought the top, over the last 4 or 5 years, and you bought the top consistently, you made every wrong move in terms of buying the top, still over the time that Bitcoin's been in existence, you would be at a 5x long-term gain. So you still do about a 500% ROI, even if you bought the top every single bull run. So there you go. Not that I would want to buy the top all the time, but that's good data for some people who think at 120,000 we're at the top, which I don't think we're anywhere close to the top right And this is another good post. I'm going to give some props to James on this, but this is a good post where he talked about, as of today's price of $118,000, Bitcoin is in the growth zone. And what he says here is, at the same time, we haven't yet entered a phase of excessive optimism. There's still room for further upside toward 139,000 without a serious risk of overheating. So, one of the things that I take from that, if you look at one of the charts that I shared from Bitcoin Magazine Pro like 3 weeks ago, it shows you when Bitcoin's overheated or when Bitcoin's oversold. And so when you look at that chart, it does it on a range of like 1 to 10. And so when Bitcoin hits this zone of like above 7, we're in the overheated zone. And I looked at that chart a week ago or so, and Bitcoin's still around like the 2.8 zone. So it's not close to being overheated. And that's a good sign that it has more run to move, or more move to run up, I should say. So that's a very, very, very good sign. Now, if you believe in those charts and you follow those charts and you trust those charts, it's a good sign, but it's also a good indicator to look at because it's based on data. So there you have it. So ETFs hold 7% of the total Bitcoin supply. So spot Bitcoin ETFs now hold $173 billion worth of Bitcoin, which is big. ETFs equals 7% of the global supply. And then you have BlackRock, which is just gobbling it up, 3.4% alone. So we look at the ETF's influence on Bitcoin. It's pretty large. The Bitcoin treasury company's influence is becoming larger and larger as well, with Strategy being the bulk of that because they are the ones who buy the most Bitcoin. 12 straight days of inflows. So you had an institutional frenzy of US Bitcoin ETFs, and they continue to rock and roll. And you look at the crypto market cap, $4 trillion. Ethereum's been on a run recently, up 23%. So we're starting to see Ethereum move. We're seeing altcoins move, and there's some bullishness in the marketplace, despite the fact that Strategy just dropped recently. It's okay. It will be back. Not financial advice, but I know it will. So Bitcoin all-time high lifts the whole market. And if you take a look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, all kinds of coins, they're moving as well. And let's not forget about MSTR's S&P 500 inclusion. So we will know in September if they get officially accepted on. They met all the requirements, and we'll see what happens in September. And Coinbase made it, MSTR next. We will see if they are next. It's huge. Let's also not forget, my friend sent this to me this morning, and he said, let's not forget that we haven't even cut interest rates yet. So when you look at the cutting of interest rates that will be coming this year, if you look at Strategy getting on the S&P 500, if you look at the Bitcoin treasury companies continue to buy, if you look at the fact that Strategy continues to buy, if you look at the fact that BlackRock continues to buy, you're looking at a very bullish next 5 to 6 months, in my opinion, not financial advice. All right. So Saylor's playbook, 88,000 plus Bitcoin bought by MSTR in 2025 alone. That's a lot of Bitcoin, man. Strategies buying, they're buying the dip. I mean, Strategies, hitting the ATM when the market shot up to 455, they hit the ATM. And let's look at it. The last 2 weeks, they've hit the ATM. And I'm not just talking about the ATM with the preferred shares. They're hitting the ATM hard with their common shares because that's what they do. When the stock runs up, they'll issue shares and they'll take that money and they'll buy Bitcoin. So they've been doing that the last 2 weeks. And so we see volatility in the price as to be expected. Chris is saying, will it ever get to $500? This is just a bummer. I personally believe, Chris, that it will absolutely get to $500. It's don't bet your future on my opinions of it, but I personally believe we will definitely get to $500. That's my personal viewpoint and how I'm rolling. Again, of course, I can't give investment advice. I'm not giving it. I'm not giving financial advice on this channel, but I personally, in theory, believe that's going to happen. I believe we're going to go higher than that. Okay. So Strategy's had some legal challenges, not even worth mentioning. It's like a little flea on their shoulder right now. We just flick it off. And institutional money, ETFs, S&P 500, of course, the corporate treasuries running the show right now. More passive flows coming in for Strategy. Corporate Bitcoin adoption, it's going down. This is going to be a big 5 months, and I'm super excited about it. What do you guys think? What are you thinking about the next 5 months? What do you think is going to happen? I'd love to hear your predictions in the chat here. And we've already heard about this, so I won't go through this, but we've heard about this as well. But you look at Saylor, he's steering. So where's he steering MSTR next? We're going to see $1 million of Bitcoin at some point. By the end of this year, I think they will buy anywhere from up to 700,000 to 800,000 total Bitcoin. They're at 607,000 right now. Of course, as they continue to buy Bitcoin, that's good for Strategy's stock as they continue to, create these new products like Stretch that they just created at Stripe and Stride and Strike, and they continue to tap the ATM and buy more Bitcoin. As a shareholder, we want more Bitcoin per share, and that's what Saylor is doing. So in the temporary dips and the temporary boost up and the boost down, some people get frightened of him tapping the ATM, but it's getting you more Bitcoin per share. Particularly when he's doing the common shares, people get really freaked out and they're like, oh my God, he's tapping the ATM and it's diluting our shares, but it's diluting your shares in a minuscule way. And it's adding lots of Bitcoin per share. So it's only dilutive if the Bitcoin's not going up in proportion to the dilution. And the dilution is so small and the Bitcoin that's being added is so massive. You think of it like a pizza pie. He keeps adding toppings to your pizza pie. So while your pizza pie gets diluted a little bit, the toppings are so rich with sausage and onions and peppers and more Bitcoin that you're happy because you're getting more Bitcoin per share. So if you look at your shares like a pizza pie and you look at the toppings like Bitcoin, you're getting more Bitcoin per share, more Bitcoins per slice of pizza, and that's what you want. So you're very happy about this in the long term as a Strategy shareholder. And we trust Strategy because they continue to buy every week. That's what we want them to do. So don't expect that they're not going to tap the ATM of common shares when the stock goes up. They will continue to do that. That's their play. And when the stock's staying steady and not moving a lot, they'll continue to issue more and more preferred shares like they've been doing. That's the game, all right? Strategy is the announcement by Saylor. He announced this the other day, so it's nothing new, but $739 million buy at $118,000 for Bitcoin. And again, his Bitcoin yield of 20.8% year to date. That's what we're looking for. Bitcoin yield, Bitcoin yield. That's how Saylor's measuring Strategy success. And he's doing it, and he continues to do it. All right. Strategy now ranks 9th among S&P 500 companies by treasury size. So when you look at the size of their treasury, it was $71 billion in Bitcoin holdings. Huge, massive, very, very big. Trump Media has purchased $2 billion in Bitcoin and Bitcoin-related securities. So they're now up on the leaderboard in terms of the number of Bitcoin that they actually own. And then you take a look at how they bought Bitcoin this week. You have MSTR surged up. If you look at the ATM proceeds update, you have MSTR surged to 736 million, Strike 0.7 million, Stripe 0.2, and Stride 0.3. So there you have it. That's weekly Strike, Stripe, and Stride ATM proceeds. Okay. And Strategy now holds over 2/3 of all Bitcoin owned by publicly traded companies. So while there's many companies getting in the game and buying Bitcoin, Strategy is still the dominant force. And that ratio will change over time as more Bitcoin treasury companies get involved. Adam Back says, after Bitcoin, treasury companies are the next best thing. So there you have it. All right. And Google searches for buy Bitcoin are spiking, signaling rise in public interest. If you remember earlier in the last couple months, we weren't seeing a lot of searching for Bitcoin, and we weren't seeing the public rush in to buy Bitcoin. We're starting to see more of it now, which is good news by the graph down here, as you see, which is cool. And Bitcoin surged back above 119,000. Is it there right now? Approximately somewhere around there. Possible breakout ahead, we will see. And I like Edward's big prediction in the next 5 months, Bitcoin to 200,000 and MSTR to 800. I like the predictions, okay? So hope this serves you. Steve says, will we go over $1,000 this year? Does anybody think we'll go over $1,000 this year? There's a good chart that I'm going to grab and put together, and I'll go over it on one of the next shows that I do that shows what needs to happen like mathematically and kind of gives you the range of where a strategy could end up based on where Bitcoin's price goes, based on the NAV premium. Let's not forget the NAV premium for Strategy in 2024 was over 2 almost all of the time. Many times it was a 3 and as high as 4. Do I think we'll get over 2 again with the NAV premium? I do. So you got to look at Bitcoin's price and what that goes to. You got to look at the NAV premium, and you also got to look at the quantity and amount of Bitcoin that Strategy continues to acquire And when you look at the mathematical table on that, you can kind of predict a range of where you think strategy will go. So I will grab some data on that, go over with you guys sometime in the next week or so here. I just got to Florida and I'm settling in here. So hence no light, no microphones, and just kind of a mess right now. But in any case, I think we're going to have a winner and have a big next 5 months. And I'm excited about it. So I hope you guys have a great day. Hope this serves you, and don't get too freaked out about the dump. This is how the stock moves. I'm sure it will be back up. Not financial advice, but that's what I'm counting on. All right. I'll see you all soon. Have a great rest of the day.